Okay. Everybody up there having a good time? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to turn down the video here. Please use the chat or go ahead and speak up if you need to. There's only so many of us on here, but welcome back. Today we're focusing on the quiz I sent you. So I'm going to be covering this the whole time and going over some more materials for you, so don't worry. But if you have any questions, please do let me know. I do want to throw out there again the stipulations about my quiz. This is a quiz to help you practice how to take multiple choice tests. None of these questions are on the exam, okay? I just have to throw that out there. I have to legally say this. I did not write questions for the exam. None of these questions are on the exam. Some of these questions may be similar to some of the questions that are on the exam, but the point of what we're doing today is multiple choicing, okay? And hopefully through that, we're still gonna learn a little bit about cheese. So I'm gonna go through each one of these and do have your chat feature up. I would like you to answer. Please do participate. The better you participate, the better you're gonna feel at test taking time. Okay. Also, I think the application time has already passed. So you should know right now whether you've been allowed in to take the exam or not. The next thing to do for you would be to pay for the exam. They will not let you sit for the exam and take it if you have not paid. So make sure you go in and pay for that exam, everybody. Okay, that's it. So number one, and we're going to go through these, take our time and do it well. According to Liz Thorpe's The Book of Cheese, Taleggio would be a gateway cheese too. All right, so now we have 4 cheeses to choose from. Mount Tam, Carmody, Red Hawk, Pastoral. That sounds kind of odd. So looking at the question and the answers, I'm going to break it up for you for a second. The answers have one best choice, and hold on one second, I got to admit more people. And the question is written up to kind of lead you to that best answer. So even if you didn't know who Liz Thorpe is, hopefully you do. Liz Thorpe, I used to work with her at Murray's many, many years ago, but she's written several books about cheese. But she wrote The Book of Cheese, great book, where she writes about Taleggio, and the whole thing about her book is called Gateway Cheeses. So if you like this style of cheese, you will like this cheese. But the thing is, do you really need to know all of that to get the answer to this question? I don't think so. Here, what you're looking for are key words. So Taleggio is a gateway cheese too. So Taleggio is your key word out of this sentence. And a gateway cheese, even if you don't know what gateway cheeses are or know who Liz is, gateway cheese is that thing that's going to get you into liking something else in that category. So Taleggio, you got to know about Taleggio. The whole thing about this question is knowing what Taleggio is. What style of cheese is Taleggio? Somebody out there. How would you classify the style of cheese of Taleggio? Here we go.
It's kind of a wash rind brie kind of aspect of a cheese.
Excellent. Yes, yes. So it is wash rind. You could say soft ripened. That's great. So we'll stop there. So Taleggio, wash rind. That's what you need to know. Again, you can throw all the rest of the sentence out and get to that. Now, let's go through these cheeses, and we have to know this is what it's good to know the cheese is about. So Mount Tam. Is Taleggio a gateway cheese to Mount Tam? No. What is Mount Tam? It's a triple creme. Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely. It's a triple creme. This is a triple creme cheese. So that's a bloomy rind cheese. So, okay, great. So it's not a gateway cheese to that. So we can mark it out. And this is how your brain should work, hopefully faster than what I'm talking. But while you're taking the exam, okay, Taleggio, it's not like Mount Tam. And when you have it on your paper, really you're gonna be handed a pen or pencil, literally strike it out. It's not that. Now you only have 3 answers that it could be. Now, is it like Carmody? No, it's not. That's a completely different cheese. It's an English style, like farmhouse style cheese. No. Okay. So we know it's not that. We can mark it off. What about Red Hawk? Could Red Hawk, is it a better answer than the rest? Yes. So what is it about Red Hawk that makes it similar to Taleggio?
In a washed rind.
Exactly, also a wash rind. So that one I'm not marking out, but I will hit the last one. Pastoral. What the heck is that? That was a cheese shop in Chicago. That was kind of like a weird distractor I threw in there. Again, I wrote these. They're not perfect questions. But they are written. I wrote them to the point of how the questions are written on the exam. So Red Hawk. So right now we know that the answer is C, Red Hawk. Boom. Let's do if we can do a highlight on that one. Perfect. So we got the first one right. Let's keep going. And you see that they're very different questions. Hopefully, y'all kind of noticed I went everywhere with these. According to the CYS, the Cyprus Organization for Standardization, standard 94-185, which of the following recipe ingredient combinations is allowed when making halloumi? All right, so that question was huge. That's a lot of words in that question. One thing to note, they're really not going to try to trick you. They wouldn't say like the CYS and then give it a different name to trick you. That's not it. The standard, that's fine. The thing you have to really pay attention to. So, okay, so which of the following recipe ingredient combinations is allowed when making halloumi? That's the real meat of that question. You can throw the rest of it out. That's the part you have to pay attention to. So, is it goat, sheep, and cow's milk, rennet, salt, and mint? Is it goat milk, rennet, mint? Is it cow's milk, rennet, salt, mint? Is it sheep, goat? Like, here's where it can get a little confusing. This is where the distractors can kind of throw you off. So it's good to have this information in your head. Now, it looks like mint is probably going to be one of the ones, right? Um, and when I earlier on in their training, I think probably the first session or two, I went through a process of how to look for the correct answers and some quick tips. One of the tips I gave you is more often than not, the longest answer is the correct answer. That's not every time. I know it's like it's a little nebulous, but here, number two is going to be goat, sheep, and cow's milk, rennet, salt, and mint. Those are the following recipe ingredient combinations that are allowed when making halloumi. Now, you're not going to find side note about halloumi. A lot of it may not have cow's milk. Cow's milk is often added if you need to add more substance. You need to create more cheese, basically. Most of the time, you're only going to see goat, sheep, rennet, salt, and mint, but their organization of standardization does allow for cow's milk. All right, so that's A. Beautiful. I think y'all see how this is going to go today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Rolling Tide. Here we go. Which cheese was traditionally made using tired milk? What is tired milk? First thing you got to know before you even look at a question. What the heck is tired milk? And this is written about yesterday's milking. It also refers to like almost even the end of the season. So as the cows are coming back in northern Italy, you'll see this. The second one was A. The second answer is A. Y'all all should also have the perfect. Y'all also should have this in PDF format. So tired milk is milk that you really use at the end of the season. Pecorino Toscano is not using that. Tired milk also refers to more often than not when you're dealing with cows. And this is from the northern region of Italy. This one's a little bit harder to get to, but it is Taleggio, B. When you look up Taleggio, it will talk about it being used with tired milk. Whoop, no. Perfect. And these are things and that's how specific you could get asked a question on the test, okay? Mary Keene claims the inspiration for Humboldt Fog was. So who was Mary Keene? I think she is an important person in the cheese world. Does anybody know who Mary Keene is? The answer could be found at the last part of that question. What company makes Humboldt Fog? Thank you, Brooke. Here we go. Perfect. So Mary Keene started Humboldt Fog. Started Cypress Grove, excuse me, started Cypress Grove, which created Humboldt Fog. Okay, so now we know that. Now we know Mary Keene, Cypress Grove. Hopefully all of you know what Humboldt Fog is. If not, you need to write that down. Humboldt Fog is a very important cheese in the United States. So does anybody know, before I go through here and ask, like, was it coconut cake? Probably not. Like it's beautiful. It looks kind of like a Humboldt fog, but I don't think that was really it.
It's kind of like she had a vision, a dream, and it was she reminded Humboldt Bay, and so ultimately it came from a dream. The name, I
You did,
believe.
Russell, you're on your own track, but this is where a distractor could get you. It was no, no, really, it was a dream, but it was a dream about a specific cheese that she went to France to see being made that made her think of the vegetable ash in the center. So what cheese on this list has vegetable ash in the center? Perfect. We got Michelle and Brooke. So Morbier. Um, Morbier. So this was the tale that she says that she was on the plane back coming from France. She wanted to go to France to learn how to make cheese. So she saw Morbier being made. And when she was flying back from France to California, she had a dream and thought about how beautiful a line of vegetable ash would look in the center of stark white goat cheese. So the kicker was it was a dream, but it was about Morbier. So B. Wait a minute. I put C on the answer sheet. So I'm going to put the Morbier. I'm changing that to B. And hopefully this won't happen much. But I put that because the inspiration was. The dream wasn't the inspiration. The cheese was the inspiration for the dream that came to Humboldt Fog. So hopefully that's okay for everybody. Okay. Let me make sure I'm highlighting that, making that to be okay. Which cheesemaker founded Vermont Creamery? All right. Was it Mary Keene? We know it's not her, right? Because we just read a question. This happens in the test too. Like when you have like 150 of these questions, sometimes you're going to find the answer to one question, maybe in the wording of another question. So Mary Keene started Cypress Grove. She's on the West Coast. Vermont Creamery's on the East Coast. So we know it's not Mary Keene. We mark that off. Jeremy Stevenson. I think he left cheese, but he was at Vermont. No, he was at Springbrook Farm. So no, it's not him. Mateo Keller. Has anybody ever heard of Mateo? What cheese? What when he did start a big cheese, Jasper Hill, Michelle, absolutely. So he started Jasper Hill. So we know it's not Mateo. We know it's not Mary. Even if you didn't know who Jeremy Stevenson was, we could get it down to two. So who started Vermont Creamery? Allison Hooper. C. Yes. Now when I do my trainings, you'll hear me talk about the women who helped kick off the artisanal cheese movement in the United States in the 90s. Mary Keene and Allison Hooper were very important to that movement. They are like the godmothers of the new American artisan cheese movement in the US. Those are two people you need to know about. Great ladies. All right, number 6. PDO regulations for Stilton. Oh my God, this is so crazy. All right. PDO regulations for Stilton, white, blue, mature blue, and vintage blue include which of the following? All right. Must be made using raw milk. I'm gonna read these out, then we're gonna have to go through it. Minimum of 45% milk fat and dry matter. Vintage blue is aged more than 15 weeks. D, must be made in the counties of Lancashire, Cheshire, Derbyshire, or Nottinghamshire. All righty. This one's a little more complicated. They're going to get easier, harder. But does all Stilton have to be raw milk? No. This is one of the ones where like knowing Stilton and like once you go through your PDOs, but this hopefully will show you how much you need to study in your PDOs. They don't all have to be raw milk, so we can throw that out. Minimum of 45% milk fat in the dry matter. That doesn't really matter. That's like a good, that is a heavy distractor. But when it comes down to milk fat in these blue vein cheeses, and even in your white Stilton, they're not all going to be equal. It doesn't matter. You can't get to that. Vintage blue is aged for more than 15 weeks. That's possible. Must be made in the counties of Leicestershire, Cheshire, Derbyshire, and Nottinghamshire. I think that's talking about cheddar. So when I'm going through and I'm learning about this, I'm like, I don't think it's A or B. D, it is the longest answer. And we talked about that for a second ago. But after studying, I know that those are usually the four counties that are talking about cheddar cheese and not blue cheese. So my final answer is going to be C. Excuse me. Yes, C. Vintage blue is aged more than 15 weeks. All right. Here we go. And so leading into the Meadow Creek Dairy, all American cheesemakers were inspired by something or someone before them. So there could be some questions like this. There were some style of questions like this on my exam years ago. Don't know if there still are. But Meadow Creek Dairy's Grayson was inspired by a trip to, all right, who has heard of Meadow Creek Dairy and the cheese called Grayson? That is out of Virginia. Grayson is a wash rind cheese. It comes like in a square, almost like Taleggio with a bit of firmer rind and a little bit more smooth wash rind cheese. So Grayson, even if you think of the name, if you let's say we don't know Meadow Creek Dairy, but you see the name Grayson was inspired. So the term Grayson, does that sound French or Swiss? Not really. So if I don't know, I'm like, okay, so the cheese is Grayson. Does it sound Italian? Grayson doesn't really sound like an Italian name. Does it sound Spanish? No. But do you think it could be from Wales or Ireland? Grayson, like, right? So, like, even though, like, there's ways, like, I happen to have known this for a while because I bet the cheesemaker or whatnot and have heard this tale. But even if you've never heard of this, like, this is the way to go through these questions. It's like, okay, don't know any of that. But Grayson sounds more Irish and Welsh than French, Swiss, Italian, or Spanish, right? So that's got to be it. If it was buongiorno, then it may be Italian. Okay, so we're going to go with Wales and Ireland. Beautiful. Going back. This cheese was in the 2017 Grand Champion winner at both World Dairy Expo and the U.S. Championship Cheese Contest. Oh, the thing is, there's a lot of cheese contests out there. We want to talk about the big winners, right? So we're on 8. Rogue River Blue, Black Pepper Bellavitano, Uplands Pleasant Ridge Reserve, Murray's Hudson Flour. Yeah, this one I don't know if you'll get anything this specific. This was Black Pepper Bellavitano, it looks like. 8 was B. That was probably a harder question. Again, don't freak out if you didn't know that. I always think it's important just to know who some of the big award winners are. They're going to ask you more about the ACS award winners. So go through on your list. You can go to the website and look up past winners and kind of focus on best of shows. And those will be more about who you're asked about. But the rest of the cheeses are worth knowing. Rogue River Blue won a big award. Rogue River Blue won one of the world cheese. And I think it was 19, right? 2019? You may need to get to know that. Uplands Pleasant Ridge Reserve. I think has won Best of Show at ACS 3 times. And Hudson Flower, I know, has won once. All right. Let's keep going. We're going to have fun. Sid Cook's Maubé, inspired by the French Morbier, is made using what? Also, who's Sid Cook? I would know him if I were learning about cheese. He makes great cheese. Um, Car Valley, Russell, that's right. Perfection. Cheesemaker at Car Valley. And we now know what Morbier. We talked about that. Again, that was in another question. But what is Maubé inspired by the French Morbier is used making what? So we've got a mixture of sheep and goat's milk. Is Morbier the whole point about it being a mixture of milks, or does it separate morning milk and evening milk? The line of vegetable ash is a separation. It's a line of separation. So here with Morbier, you know it's not anything but mixed milk. So it's not so you can take out A and you can take out C immediately and know that these are going to be layers. A layer of cow's milk, a layer of sheep milk. This is going to be D right here. A layer of sheep milk and a layer of goat's milk. But hopefully you all saw what I was just talking about. Again, read the question. Make sure you read the full question and you can get rid of some of these answers that if you don't know, you don't know. But you know it's not going to be a mixed milk with Morbier. It's going to be something on top of something. Perfect. All righty. Teresa Gorgonzola Picante, mountain gorgonzola, is made in what region of Italy? Lombardia, Veneto, the Piedmonte region, or the Emilia-Romagna region? Here I got to go. What's the big cheese from Emilia-Romagna? That's one. Parmigiano Reggiano. So strike that. The thing is, you can go through here if you didn't know, because a lot of these Italians go a lot by their regions. So when learning about, thinking about Italian cheeses, it is good to know the region where they come from. It's not Emilia Romagna. It's going to be coming from the northern regions of Italy. So this one's going to be A, the Lombardia region. Here we go. Parano, a Dutch Gouda, is made with what additional cultures which contribute to its nutty, sweet flavor profile? So Parano is a Gouda, but they also use a separate culture when making this cheese to give it another flavor. Is it cheddar, Parmesan, Gruyere, or Cantal? B. Everybody's pretty confident right there. We got a B. Parmesan. I always tell people that yeah, Parano was. They were probably one of the first ones out there that made it big of making a style of cheese with a different style of culture. So it's always like if Gouda and Reggiano had a love child, it'd be Parano. So Parmesan it is. All right. The PDO regulations for Parmigiano Reggiano as of August 2011 include, here we go. So a lot's going on here in 12. Probably not the best written question, but the morning milking is to be skimmed and mixed with the previous evening's milk. A maximum of 15% of the morning's milking may be set aside to make cheese the following day. B, C, in summer, the room temperature in the maturing facility may not be lower than 21 degrees. And D, the milk may be heat treated but not pasteurized. All right, so in 12, there's a lot going on. This probably will be a little bit heavier question on your exam if you got something like this. But here, it's going to be B. All right, a maximum of 15%. And when looking at that, You want to get, it's like, why can't it be A? A is talking about the same thing, but do you see how specific B is? A maximum of 15% of the morning's milking may be set aside to make cheese the following day. That's just a much more, it's like, the morning milking is to be skimmed and mixed with the previous evening's milk. That's not the way regulations are written. So that's why I got to B. When Beemster cheese is made, excuse me, which Beemster cheese is made using a microbial rennet? And you would just have to know this one. It is their premium goat cheese. All right. Number 14, Malines is a member of which category or style of cheese? Oh my goodness. 14, Malines. All right. If I were going through this pamphlet, my mind would go right back up to that question about Grayson. You know, for some Malines, if I don't know what it is, like it sounds again, it's taking me back to Ireland. And the only way that I would know without knowing, basically, is I know that there's a big push for more wash rind cheeses in Ireland. So I would come to wash rind cheeses. All right. Crozier Blue is the first Irish blue cheese made using what? Animal, like you start from the bottom, animal rennet? No, like they got animal rennet in blue cheeses. Jersey cow milk, maybe a mixture of cows and sheep milk. That could be possible because when I think of Ireland, I think of mostly of cow milk right now, or just sheep milk. So here we go. So 15 is A. It's their first time using sheep milk. Okay. Mariano Gonzalez, according to Gordon Edgar, is the man who brought what cheese back to the United States? First off, who's Gordon Edgar? Who is that guy? Anybody ever heard of him? He's a cheesemonger and he's written books. One of his books is called Cheesemonger, Life on the Wedge. And he also wrote The History of Cheddar. So that's what I'm trying to see here. I wonder if that ties into it in any way. Boom, right there. Cloth bound cheddar. So this is another instance where we're having having a good mindset of knowing who the questions are about. Like, so if you knew who Gordon Edgar was and knew that he was an author and knew that he wrote about cloth bound cheddar, or knew he wrote about a book about cheddar, you're going to get to that pretty easily. Comté, oh, this is the fun one. I think this one was on my test, something like it. Comté is made from the milk of which two cow breeds? Oh, God. Montelabriard or Jersey. Jersey are French Simmental. French Simmental and Montelabriard or Holstein and French Simmental. Probably pronouncing that wrong. Oh my God, it's got to be C, right? 17? Yeah. And so even if you don't, again, going back to the question, Comté is from which country, guys? Where's Comté from? I know you know this. France, perfect, France. So if you don't know something, if you're like Comté, like if you know it's from France, like okay, but you don't know your cow breeds, here's simply like which two cow breeds sound French? Like this is a way like you could like you say Montbéliard. That sounds French in Jersey. That doesn't sound very French to me. Jersey, again, another one, or French Simmental. Those, but when you put the French Simmental with the Montbéliard, That's two French cows together. That's going to be your most likely choice. Other than that, now you just know it. Okay. Roquefort is made from the milk of what ruminant? What is Roquefort? Y'all need to know this one. Y'all need to know what Roquefort is. Roquefort, of course, is a blue cheese from where? It's a sheep blue. Perfect, Anna. It is a sheep blue. We know it's from France. So we know it's sheep. We mark out B and you mark out D and you get two. You get A or C. When in doubt, which one sounds French? Lacune. Perfect. A. You will need to know that. We're gonna sounds like we're staying a little bit with this. Which cheese was the first to receive the AOC designation in 1925? Brooke's on it right now. This is one you just have to know. Just Roquefort. Roquefort is credited with being the first ever protected cheese. Roquefort. It's also considered the first known blue cheese. It's probably arguable. What's not arguable, it is the first cheese to get a designation. That is a fact. Okay. Which of the following cheeses has the AOP designation? Oh, goodness. You're going to have to remember some of these now. So number 20, we're coming along. Make sure I can remember everything. Following cheese that has the AOP designation: Appenzeller, Tilsiter, Sprinz, Raclette, Swiss. This one is Sprinz. And I'm going to look that question up and see if it was just written wrong. Number 20. AOP cheese. Sprinz. Okay. Uplands. Uplands Pleasant Ridge Reserve is made during which months? I would know Uplands. Again, it won Best of Show 3 times at ACS, if not 4 now. Uplands cheese. Does anybody know where Uplands is from? Uplands cheese. There you go. The great state of Wisconsin. And Pleasant Ridge Reserve, Dodgeville. Even get specific, Russell. I like it. One of my favorite cheeses in the entire world. Pleasant Ridge is amazing. Absolutely love it. But it's only made during certain parts of the month because it's based after an Alpine style cheese. That's something you need to remember. I probably don't want to go too far into it, but Uplands is so when you're making Alpine style cheeses, all right, let's go to the Alps in our minds. We know, so we got, if you got to know what Uplands is, Alpine. Alpine cheeses, do you make grass-fed cow's milk cheeses in the Alps in the wintertime? No, you've got to make it in the spring. So Pleasant Ridge Reserve, I know it's a farmstead cheese. It's all grass-fed. So we got to stay in that area of maybe spring grass time. That's where we're going. So made during which month? Is it March through October, April through October, May through September, or May through October? Those are all pretty similar. Pretty similar. D. It takes a while. They're not in the South like I am. In Atlanta, actually, what is this, April? It's April and things just started blooming here. So even in the South, so you got to think of, it's going to take a while for everything to bloom and the grass to get really green. So May through October. Perfect. And we'll stay with them for a minute and say Uplands cheese, Rush Creek Reserve, was inspired by which European cheese? All right, so Uplands, they have 2 cheeses. One's made in the spring and one's made in the winter. I mentioned that it's also Pleasant Ridge was an Alpine style cheese or inspired cheese. Would any of these make you think of the Alps? So we'll start from the bottom. Valençay. Anybody know what Valençay is? Valençay is a goat milk cheese, right? That's been dusted in ash, has a rind, and the top's like a pyramid with the top cut off, and it's goat milk. Not it. Ash goat. Perfect, Michelle. That's Anna. Yes. Camembert. Okay, Camembert. We know of Camembert. It is a soft ripened cheese, but it is Camembert's like bloomy rind. Rush Creek Reserve is more like wash rind with spruce on the outside. It sounds just like Harbison. Rush Creek Reserve is kind of like the larger, fatter version of Harbison or Windermere. But all those get their inspiration from Vacherin Mont d'Or. Know this cheese. When I first, I'm pushing too many buttons around here. When I first started working in cheese, um, that's what we still back in the very early 2000s. We were able to sneak in a couple of raw milk cheeses. We had raw milk Camembert my first in 2005. We had raw milk Vacherin Mont d'Or. Oh my God, right? But Vacherin Mont d'Or comes in a wooden, it's a little bit thicker, comes in I don't want to say a wooden cup, but a wooden container, and it is ooey gooey. That is the inspiration for Harbison and for Rush Creek. Ah, Robelachon. We're going down the cheese past. But hopefully you can see, like, even though I got there, I just had to get a couple of key points in my head that remember uplands, alpine. And then I was able to deduce by reading the cheeses that Vacherin Mont d'Or is the only alpine sounding cheese there is. All right. Because it is made using raw milk, excellent. Uplands cheese Rush Creek must be aged a minimum of how many days? Russell's already on top of it. This should be automatic in all your brains. I thought it was fun to ask this question in this sense, where you ask about a specific cheese. They're going to ask you about it some way. Just as long as you know that a cheese must be 60 days or older to be sold legally as a raw milk cheese in the United States. They can ask it in 1,000 different ways, but just know 60 days American raw milk. And then you'll be able to get it. So you know that's a guarantee on your test. The production of Le Gruyere can be traced back to what year? It's old. And I'm going to tell you it's old. I would say the thing, like if you didn't know, I would say like see how close, like you got 11/15, 12/50, or 13/15. Those three dates are all pretty close together. Then you got this outlier of 1600. If you don't know anything, I would lose the outlier. Just like, well, it's not 1600. Gruyere's been around a long time. So then at least you get a 1 out of 3 chance instead of 1 out of 4. Who knows this one? Le Gruyere. And actually, it goes back to B, 11/15. And before that, there were Alpine style cheeses made in that region. They were all referred to as Gruyere. It wasn't until a little bit after that time where villages started giving them different names. But 11/15 Le Gruyere. Ooh, Comté. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you. No Comté inside and out. They may have changed some stuff, but when my test, they asked several questions about Comté. So know about it. Comté must be aged a minimum of how many days? 120. Perfect. That's just a fact to remember. It's that's just like 4 months. It's not that old. The Euramassif has how many Comté affineurs? This one I think was on my test, And I didn't know. I didn't know this one. So 26, you're going to have a specific numbers of Comte affineurs in the Euromassif. Does anybody know this one? Do, 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 do. It is 16. Comte is aged on what kind of wooden boards? Spruce, oak, pine, or maple? I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I don't think any cheese is aged on pine. Pine is not that. Pine is not a hardwood, so I would throw that out. That's just a little bit of know about trees and wood. I grew up in the South. Pine is not good for hardly anything but toilet paper. Um, so we get rid of that, and it leaves you with three. Here we're going to be focusing more on spruce, I think, right? 27 is A, yes. Beautiful. To obtain the green band, a wheel of Comte must obtain how many points out of a perfect score of 20? And you'll read this again. There were several of these questions about Comte. I remember that distinctly. Um, but Comte has a grading system with the different colors of bands that go around the wheel. All right. So the green band, which you see in the States more often than anything, how many points does it have to get a score of 20? B, it's got to get over 14. Perfect. This is a callback. This happens sometimes. Meadow Creek Dairies Grayson is what style of cheese? We talked about this earlier in the test. You got to be able to go through this exam and remember some things you saw at the front. Perfect, Anna. Wash rind. C. Perfect. And this is where too, like if you don't know the answer, if you're coming to this, you're like, man, what the heck is Grayson? I don't know nothing. Leave it alone for a second. When you're taking the exam, like again, when I took it, I went through and I went through the exam one time quickly and answered what I knew without a shadow of a doubt. I just went through it and I was like, okay, I know this one is beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I just kept on going. If I knew it, I circled the answer and I was okay. I didn't put anything on my bubble, my Scantron yet. And then I went back and went to the questions that I couldn't answer that quickly. So I already had a bank of questions already answered, and I went back and I was able to spend more time with that. This would have been the ones I would have skipped if I didn't know. I was like, okay, I don't know if it's wash rind, but while skipping, you could read another question that could give you the answer to that. So don't freak out. Capriole goat cheese's Wabash Cannonball is aged how many days? I hope that still exists. But the Wabash Cannonball from Capriole, number 30, is D, 10 days. It's a youngster. Capriole goat cheese's O'Bannon has a shelf life of how many weeks? 31 is D. All right, that's a weird question. You probably won't get asked that one. Don't worry about that. Here we go. You may get asked, there's a good chance you get asked something like this. Which PDO cheese has the legend that Napoleon cut off its top because it reminded him of his defeat in Egypt? Here we go. So, Michelle, perfect. That's perfect. So, you knew the answer right off the bat. I would have got that one too because I've sold a lot of these cheeses in my day. Um, but let's just go through. So, it was Valençay. Valençay is from the Loire Valley. It's a pyramid shape kind of a fat bottom pyramid, but the top is cut off. And that's the fun little story that goes along with it. Pouligny Saint Perry has the pyramid top to it. Chevignol is actually a small goat cheese, or brown goat cheese. So you're able to deduce it from there. Okay, this one's kind of odd. Let me get back to this one. 33. Taleggio is sometimes referred to as a what kind of cheese? Pressato cheese. Uh, Stracchino cheese. Pasta filata cheese. And dolciolata cheese. Oh God, this is a lot different. Now here, I wouldn't know this off the top of my head, but I would go through and try to figure out what it's not. Taleggio is a wash rind cheese. I know that it's not a pasta filata. That's a stretched. That's your mozzarella. That's your Oaxaca. That's, you know, so I know it's not a pasta filata, so I'm marking that off. Pressato, Siago pressato, it usually means pressed. So Taleggio is a soft ripened, so it's not pressed. So I know I'm able to get rid of two of those answers right off the bat. So it's either Stracchino or Dolciolate. And I want to say Dolciolate is double creme. So that leaves me with B. Perfect. Which group of cheeses all have EU protected status? Nice. Okay, so here's an all or of, and so every one of the cheeses listed have to have designation. Ponte, Taleggio, Manchego, Pasquier. Or B, Comte, Legriere, Quick's Mature Cheddar, or Stilton. C, Grana Padano, Parmigiano Reggiano, Montgomery Cheddar, Campo di Montalban. Or D, Manchego, Roncal, Campo di Montalban, and Ilias of all. This is all over the place. How would you come to this grouping? Does anybody know this answer? Boom. A. Ponte, Taleggio, Manchego, Pasquier. What we're looking at in the bottom ones, the cheddar. Quick's cheddar is not. Montgomery cheddar is not. And I want to say Ilias of all is not. So there we go. That you'll just get better at that as you learn your PDO cheeses. And you are correct. The UK is not part of the EU. Another way to think about it. Perfect. Which cheese board has cheeses from 4 different countries? Oh crap! Now we gotta figure this out, right? 4 different countries. So Flag Sheep, O'Bannon, Stilton, Manchego. Let's see. Flag Sheep is Washington State. O'Bannon. Didn't we just have a question about O'Bannon? Capriola O'Bannon. That's U.S. So that's got 2 U.S. cheeses in A. Not gonna be that. All right, Manchego, Taleggio, looks like it's spelled wrong. Taleggio, Mount Tam, Humboldt Fog. I know Mount Tam and Humboldt Fog are both American, so that's not it. Beaufort, Ponte, Legriere, or Sprins. Beaufort and Ponte are both French. So I know that. So that's not it. So it's got to be D. Taleggio, Montgomery's Cheddar, Ponte, and Sprins. I think questions like that are fun because this is where you just have to kind of have a good sense of your cheeses and know where the, and you see that we're talking about what country they come from. So it's still keeping it a bit broad for you. All right. We're rocking and rolling, having a good day. According to local legend, Marie Harel is credited with co-creating which cheese? First off, does anybody know who Marie Harel is. What country is she coming from? France. Perfect. We know, so she's French. We know she's French. And she has a legend with her. There was a monk who needed hiding, who was on the run, and Marie Harel gave him a safe place to stay, and he had one of the last recipes of camembert. And she is credited in Normandy with helping with camembert. So if you see her name, know it's camembert, which, as we know now, is dying away because because they keep using the same mold strand, and that mold strand is soon going to be gone, and we're not going to have Penicillium camberte anymore before long. Number 37, per PDO, Parmigiano Reggiano regulations. Following completion of the evening and morning milking, the milk must be delivered to the dairy within how many hours? 2. I'm having trouble just highlighting that one. Fat fingers. And if you, let's say you didn't know that. Well, man, I don't know all the regulations. That's fine. How long should you take to get milk to a dairy? You know, if you think about it, not 12 hours. You need to get it there lickety split. So when in doubt, if you don't know that, think about food safety, whatever can get your brain to say, let me pick the shortest amount of time. It needs to be there super fast. Okay. Per PDO Parmigiano Reggiano regulations, the moisture content of the cheese must be 38. This one you just got to know. Yeah, you're going to have between 25 and 35. On which day do French cheesemakers begin making Vacherin Mont d'Or? All righty. So we don't know about this. If you're unfamiliar with that cheese, number one, get to know it. It's great. Number two, we talked about it earlier in the test. Vacherin Mont d'Or was made, I mentioned that Pleasant Ridge Reserve is alpine. Their Rush Creek was modeled after this cheese, but the Pleasant Ridge Reserve is only made during the spring. There was a question about that. So it was made from, what was it, May to October. So we know that that's when good alpine cheeses are made. So if you're making another cheese after that, it would have to come into no, that's the wrong way of thinking. August 15th. August 15th. That's you have to learn that by reading about Vacherin and Mont d'Or. 39, just double checking. Correct answer. Delta. Perfect. Which cheeses are most directly inspired? Okay. Which cheeses most directly inspired the recipe for Pleasant Ridge Reserve? It's tough. Oh, God. That's number 40. Beaufort and Gruyere. Beaufort is not a cheese you see a lot in the United States, but it holds significant uh, what is it, place in the cheese world. Like Beaufort is an ancient cheese that kind of sprang forth to help create other styles of cheese. It's an old world cheese. All right. Oh, this is fun. Name the most consumed AOC PDO status cheese in France. And one thing you do, so is it, let's just say, let's play the, is it protected? Brie? It's protected, Brie that on sheep. Chevre? That just means goat, man. So you mark that off and gives you at least 3. It is going to be Conte. French Brie was first imported into the U.S. in 1936. I don't have a good way to deduce that, except for, you know, is it before the war or after the war? All right, 43. Which of the following group of cheeses must be made from raw milk per cheesemaker or to obtain EU PDO protection medallion? So there must be a raw milk to keep its protection. Let's see, cheddar, Roblechon, de Savoie, Taleggio, Morbier, Comté, Mahon, and Poisse, Robiola, Reggiano, Brinemo, Banon, Pleasant Ridge Reserve. Oh, that's an American cheese. We know we can get that out of there. Stilton, Roquefort, Tarentaise, Queso de la Serena. Oh my God, so many cheeses here. This is number 43. Stilton is pasteurized. I think I wrote the question wrong. Looking at that, because the BU protection, I've got the answer as C. So 43, let's throw out. I'm making a note to correct that one as well. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna get that one. And this is why this happens during the test as well. Believe it or not, there's gonna be a question or two that's written weird that you may not understand that everybody misses, and that's when they throw one out. Okay. Mahojero originates from which area? Oh goodness, number 44. I was searching for that one. The Canary Islands. Beautiful. All right, number 45. You will in some way get asked this. I don't know how they're going to ask it, but you're going to get asked about the definition of farmstead cheese. This is huge. You will get asked this. So, what is the definition of farmstead cheese? A, the cheese made on the same location, the farm, as the source of the herd providing the milk. That sounds pretty good. B, small batch cheese is made using the milk from different herds. No, I know that's not it. C, cheese made at a dairy farm with milk produced within 5 miles of the dairy. No, no, that's not it. And then D, traditionally produced cheeses using unique cultures and recipes. No, it has to be A. So you're going to get that, but that is such a big deal in our industry. You will be asked farmstead in some way. What is the term used to describe the family of Italian cheeses made by heating and manually stretching the curd? This is a big one. 46. Is it, who knows this one? I mentioned it earlier. I was doing the stretching motion and everything. Pasta filata. Now notice too, I want to point out the Italian cheeses. Pasta filata, Italian. That term is used often throughout the world of cheeses, but that's what the Italians named it. It's stretched curd is really what it means. So like Oaxaca, you have other countries, other non-Italian speaking countries that may have named it something else. So here, luckily, we've got the term Italian pasta filata, but it also means stretched curd. Which of the following breed of sheep are used to make Rancol, PDO? 47. I haven't heard that question in a while. That you just got to know. See, the only thing I could have done, honestly, is like Manchego. I would have thrown that out because that goes into Manchego. Um, And I would have had to guess between those three, to tell you the truth. All right, per Parmigiano Reggiano cheese production standards, the time for each of the two daily milkings allowed shall not exceed how many hours? All right, 48 is 4 hours. Perfect. J.L. Kraft was known for creating Velveeta, aka processed cheese. Another, but lesser known fact was that he also bankrolled specialty cheesemakers. Which of the following cheese companies did he bankroll? Oh my God, this is so fun. I like this one. 49. This goes back into, I like this. Sartori. So the thing is, you gotta see like who do you know started these companies, right? Saputo, Sargento, Sartori, or Rogue. Which one of these would you think? Okay, so let's read the question. Specialty cheesemakers. So which one out of all of these, who is a specialty cheesemaker? D, right? Rogue. Here you could say Sartori is specialty cheese. So you can hold on to that for a minute. But if you know anything about Sartori, they were started by the Sartori family that came over from Italy. They didn't need bankrolling from Kraft. Saputo is just absolutely a no. Sargento, that's not specialty. So if you're looking for one key word, because it's a lot of words. So J. Kraft, known for creating Velveeta processed cheese. That's a statement. That really has nothing to do with the question. Another but lesser known fact is that he bankrolled specialty cheesemakers. All right, Rogue. Specialty. And of course, this was a long time ago. I think when Vela was still in operation many, many years ago there. Which of the two Which two French sheep milk cheeses have AOC protected status? So what I'm going to be looking for is to make sure that all of these, number one, are sheep milk. But which two have protected status? Roquefort, we know that does. Osso Errate, I think that one does. Roquefort, Petite Brebis Auger, I don't know. Osso Errati and Pecorino Romano. Wait, is Pecorino Romano French? No. So strike it out. This is where the distractors get you. And that's why, like, if you're reading it really quickly, like you would say, like in my mind, if I'd have read that real fast, I'd be like, Osso Errati, yeah, Pecorino Romano, yeah, there, boom, that's it. That's the one. Um, Brocu and Brindamore. Oh my God, it's A. Absolutely A. A small fact, Osso Errate was the cheese that helped me fall in love with cheeses. That's one cheese that I tried that is sheep milk cheese from the French Pyrenees. And when I tasted it, it still had the good firm texture like I'd known of cheese, but I never knew a cheese could be so complex and so rich. So she started my love affair with cheese. I just want to let y'all know that. No big deal. Camembert AOC is made with raw milk from what breed of cow? All right. Where is Camembert from? That's what you got to know to help you. So when deducing this one, Normandy, right? So think about it. It's like the answers are always hiding in these questions. So Camembert, if you don't know Jersey, Jersey's not really a European cow. Jersey we got here in the United States, and we bred that cow for us more often than not. But yeah, Normandy. It's from Normandy. Normandy cows. Perfect. Hopefully y'all are, I know I'm talking till I'm blue in the face, but hopefully y'all are seeing how just understanding how to take one of these tests, like you all have so much information already in your head. You just got to be able to get your filing cabinet to go. My brain is a Rolodex. I don't even know if y'all Some of y'all young people probably never heard of a Rolodex, but that's how like I twist my brain until I stop, and that's how I get there. But anyway, which European country has the most PDO protected status cheeses? Woo! And here you can say, where was the first protected cheese ever from? That was Roquefort. Remember, we mentioned Roquefort? Michelle, your heart is correct. It is France. This one's kind of like you think it's almost too easy. You're like, wait, it can't be that easy. But sometimes it just is. It is France. All right. Which British county cannot legally produce Stilton? Oh my God. This was tough. 53. Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, Leicestershire. It's Oxfordshire. I don't know all of my shires, not gonna lie. But for the exam, look into Stilton and look into as far as where cloth bound cheddars are made. Those are going to give you a couple different shires to remember. Okay, at what age are Parmigiano Reggiano wheels inspected and graded for quality? At what age are they inspected and graded for quality? 54. You know, it's almost a good 2 years, 24 months makes a great Reggiano. So you'd want to at least check it by half its age, 12 months. Uh-oh. Which cheese is wrapped in grape leaves and soaked in pear brandy? All righty, A. You got to know this one, Rogue River Blue. And again, because it's such a highly vaulted cheese in the United States, you will be asked something about Rogue River Blue. You're hands down, you're going to get asked something about it. All righty. Kurt Beecher Demier named his handmade cheese company Beecher's after whom? 56. His great grandfather. They're probably not going to ask you something quite like that, but you know, when you're writing a test, you come up with so many questions. Cougar Gold. Man, if you ever get a chance, Cougar Gold's a lot of fun. The cheddar in a can. Yes, there is a cheddar that's sold in a can, a wide, flat can. Was created by which U.S. university? This one you kind of got a Cougar Gold. The name doesn't really give anything by it away, but except for the cougar could represent B. Perfect. I was going to say, wait a minute, it doesn't, but like cougar is their mascot. That's the whole point. So it's Washington State University. And I'm going to tell you, it's delightful. When I first found out about it years and years and years ago, my buddies and I were joking about it. It's like, oh, this cheddar in a can. And so I bought it kind of like a joke and brought it back to town, and we all opened it up. And it's like Thanksgiving or something. We were like, we're gonna have this to start out Thanksgiving. And it was delicious. Absolutely delicious. Taught me not to be a cheese jerk. Uh, awesome. You just pick some up for your business. Exactly. I love the cheese. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you I was wrong. Never open your mouth and put something down until you give it a shot, right? I love it. Okay. Founded in 1892, Grafton Village ceased production between 1912 and the mid 1960s. What event caused the interruption? 88. War, definitely war, but we're going to go with, I think 58 specifically was fire. Now, Grafton Village cheese just sold to whom? Did y'all know that? Grafton Village is now Vermont Farmstead. So you're going to see some changes coming along there, which is a good change. Sometimes I don't want to get it. Now's not the time to get on soapboxes, and I'm sorry, but we do see a lot of American produced cheeses getting purchased by big European companies now, which they still keep the same cheesemakers and all, but like here, this is where you got the co-op working with more cheesemakers in Vermont. It's a good sell. It's a good thing. Okay. Cabot Creamery and Road Creamery have which of the following in common? Okay, what are they both? What are they both? Tom Vella founded both in the 1920s. I don't know about that. I know Tom Vella started Rogue in the 1920s thanks to Kraft's money. They both make only organic cheeses. No, that's not it. Both are certified B Corps, or they're both are co-ops. I think it's B. 59 is Bravo. And you will, for the love of all things holy, you will be asked about certified B corporations. You will need to know which cheesemakers are certified B corporations. I don't have the list. You can Google that, but I know it's Beehive, Cabot, Rogue. I want to say Tillamook, and another. So there's know your B corporations in cheese. Roth's Grand Cru Chouchois is similar to which EU PDO cheese? Gruyere. It was called Gruyere. The thing is, this is how old this test is that I wrote. This was back when, because Gruyere is protected cheese. Roth called one of their cheese Grand Cru Gruyere. Gruyere went after them, so they changed it. Now Gruyere is actually accepted. They can go back to using the term. Stay off that soapbox, Nathan. Stay off that. Let's stick to the test. Georgia's Sweetgrass Dairy. I'm here in Georgia. Their Sweetgrass Dairy practices barn-free grazing by using what process? C, rotational grazing. So that means they go from paddock to paddock or field to field, moving around. And I think this rotational grazing is something Europeans have done, especially these protected cheeses. They make sure that the cows are moving. So they go from one field, they'll eat up the grass, poop, fertilize it, leave. Let the grass grow back up, and so they move around. Absolutely. They also do something called New Zealand farming. I don't know if I have a question about this, but New Zealand farming there's a process where, all right, so when baby cows are born, they'll usually get to drink the first milking from the cow, which is called what? You might remember what that is? Think about that. But they get the first milk from the mother, but then they're separated from the mother. And usually, a lot of times, they'll go off into another field or another herd to be raised. But New Zealand style farming, they keep the babies, they're still separated, but they keep them close by so that the mother can still see baby calf. And the colostrum, Michelle, perfect. Colostrum is going to be on your exam one way or another. You got to know that. But that's New Zealand style farming, which you could get asked about, but I think they've had some success with it. Anyway, Cowgirl Creameries, Inverness, is their version of what European cheese? 62. Saint Marcelin. All righty, we got about 15 more minutes. I think this is going well. Hopefully you all are getting some things out of this today. Founded in 1962 by cheese icon Paula Lambert, Dallas's mozzarella company today makes more than how many artisanal cheeses? Oh, shenanigans. 30. You just kind of got to know that. That probably won't be asked of you. Springbrook Farms Ashbrook is fashioned in the same style as what European cheese? What is the key? What's the if you broke Ashbrook into the two component words that are put together, Ashbrook. Which cheese in 60 question 64 do we know has ash in it? 64 is A, Morbier. From this quiz, I'm seeing how important dang Morbier was in the cheese world, inspiring all kind of things. Beautiful. 2016 ACS Best of Shows, Little Mountain, was inspired by which European cheese? I'm going to tell you what, I wrote these questions, but I don't remember this one. Little Mountain, ACS Little Mountain. How could we get to that? It's a mountain style cheese. All of these are mountain style cheese. This was Appenzeller. Oh man, this question is dead. I need to make a note of that. 66. This cheese no longer exists. Hold on. Jeff's Select Gouda is the result of a collaboration between Jeff Jarek and Jeff Weidman. It is made in Wisconsin and aged where? The Caves of Faribault. But that cheese is no longer made. One of the better cheeses out there, right? Oh my God. As soon as I remember just falling in absolute love with it and wanting it all the time and then finding out it was going away. That's like buying your favorite pair of shoes and then never make them again. Murray's Cheese finishes Hudson Flour, a 2017 ACS winner, is a sheep's milk cheese made by. So who makes the base cheese for Hudson Flour? It's going to be, I think I know what it is. I think it's D, but is it 67? Is D. Old Chatham. And here I know that sounds specific, but that definitely goes back to ACS winners. Queso cotilla is a Hispanic style cheese similar to what cheese? Ooh, 68. Feta. It is feta. Now it's not. The only thing is, it's just not brined like feta. Cotilla is a fresh, dry cheese, but it is not like parm would have been if it had to be aged. But cotilla is not aged like that. It is just a drier curd cheese. Point Reyes Farmstead cheese in Northern California makes Cornelia, a pint-sized tome, which is finished at 69. Some of you may not know that, but that is Murray's Cheese Caves. The only reason. All right, Alex says he sells Cohea and use instead of parm. I can see that. But as far as like when it's asking a question like it's similar to what cheese, parm is aged for at least a year. Yeah, it's marketing. Yeah, it is. It's hard for me to prove it to you. Luckily, though, you probably won't get asked that question. The Point Reyes question, Cornelia, the only way like I know that because I worked at Murray's Cheese on the corner of Bleecker and Cornelia. Like I just have known that, but like that would have probably been harder for some people to get. Also marketing. All right, just I'm gonna do this last one, and then we're gonna talk about a couple other things before we head for the day. Laura Chanel was one of, if not the first, American cheese makers to produce and sell what style of cheese in the U.S.? Chev, you are on top of it. She is also Laura Chanel, along with Allison Hooper and Mary Keene. Like, there's a group of women back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, that started with Chev and really started making great artisan cheeses and really, again, opened the door to artisan cheeses in the US. Uh, I credit women for everything good in this world. Got to. Oh my God. Especially cheeses. Perfect. All French varieties. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, most basically, goat logs are really what they started with. Fresh Chev logs. Then they started to play. Once they got made money with their logs, they started exploring and expanding that into different styles of French. Yeah, but typically French Loire Valley style cheeses. Yes. All right. So those are the first 70. Go through, hopefully all of you, if you haven't completed it, complete it yourself. But the takeaway from today in doing this is really making sure you know how to read questions. If there's a bad question or if something you don't understand during the test, and if you're taking it live, you can raise your hand. And a moderator such as myself will come around and you can ask a question. I do not know the process for the virtual. Please forgive me for that, but you will all have a virtual meeting before the exam to make sure you have the right software on your computer, and you will get a tutorial about the exam. Make sure you're asking questions like that to the proctor giving that exam. I focus on the in-person. All righty, let's see. Oh, all right, Sally Jackson. Oh, you guys are going deep. There's some old people in here, old timers. All right, I was just introduced today to some new forms. Did you all receive an email from ACS with this? I did not. That's why I'm making sure I'm not taking the test. So I don't want to show anything if you guys are not, but hopefully, from what I understand, all of you should have this. Perfect. So one thing I noticed, can I make this bigger? Yeah. All right. Use this sheet. I sent you a cheeses to know list. That was great. Throw it in the trash. Use the one from ACS. But I think you're going to notice as I was going through it, I was like, these are pretty similar. So it's like, I was right. So use this one from ACS. This is your cheese list of cheeses to know. It's still a lot. It's one page, but I'm looking, it's very similar to the one I gave you, but still use this one. And all of these are open game. All of these cheeses are what they could ask you about. So like if they say, I'm looking at Green Hill right here. You needed like what is Green Hill? Where is it from? Green Hill is from Sweetgrass Dairy from Georgia. Know where it's from. Know the milk type, pasteurized or raw. That's what you need to know. Then, and of course, so break it down. Which ones have PDOs? That's only going to be your Europeans, but I would mark which ones are PDO or not. These are going to be your great. You need to make flashcards with these. Abondance written on one side and all the information. Raw cow's milk from France, PDO, must use these breeds of cows. Somebody hit a chat. Hold on, let's see what's going on here. Perfect. Yeah, I will. I've got these saved now, so I'll resend these to everybody if you need them. Not a problem. But go through, and this is your homework. Is going through these cheeses. Now, I find a lot of this information was in your the Oxford Companion to Cheese. That's where that's where I even started with my list and narrowed it down. The Oxford Companion to Cheese is a good resource for looking these up. Excellent. Yeah, because I was looking on the website and I was like, I know we talked about this in a meeting once, but I don't remember ever doing it. But you guys have it now. So these are the cheeses you could get asked about. All righty, now we also got a reference list. Make that bigger. This is a reference list that test takers are encouraged to study for the 2025 Certified Cheese Professional Test. While not comprehensive, these are the primary references used by item writers when crafting test questions. These references are not meant to be an endorsement by the American Cheese Society. They're simply a reflection of what's in their CCP bank. Gotcha. So again, the questions come from people like me who've been around the industry for a long time, but we're given like say I would start with like the Oxford. That's how I wrote the questions here. I went to books or articles, read them, turned them into a question. Let's see. All right, the books recommended. I'm coming to that. No worry, Brooke. Hang on one second. So the regulations, read these. Just read them. Go through the links, the code of regulations. Those are all good places to start. And they're all written about, again, in your best practice guide for cheesemakers. Never forget about the best practice guide for cheesemakers. We had a guy. Mastering cheese. So here they've got a lot of books. Oh my God, that's a great deal of books. That is, yeah. I always talk about the Oxford Companion to Cheese. So then I get that highlight on there. Mastering Cheese. And then what's not on here that I thought was going to be. So American Farmstead Cheese. These were the three. But Paul Kensett, the author of American Farmstead Cheese, also wrote a book called Cheese and Culture. And I feel like that would make it left out of here somehow. But these are the big three that I suggest. There's no way that all of you are going to get all these books and read all of them. I love you. I still believe in you, but I don't think any of us are going to do that. A lot of them cover the same information. Once there's so many books about cheese, like there's only so much information about cheese that you can have. These three I've been using to teach with and for the last 5 years. So I feel like they work pretty well. I think they work pretty well. But with that, oh, the new rule of this one here, the Anne Saxelby book, probably one of my favorite books. It's a small little pocket book for cheesemongers. I recommend that. It's like 15 bucks. I think it's a great little book to have in your cheese shop, but these three are just a good way to go. All right. That means all of your test writers have gone through all of these books to pull questions out of. All right. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. All right. If you can't read more, read more. But here you're going to get the Oxford Companion to Cheese. You're going to get a great deal of information there, and you're just going to talk about the cheeses specifically, individual cheeses. Mastering Cheese talks about how cheese is made. American Farmstead Cheese goes into the science. So it's kind of like those are the way I break it down in my mind. Excellent. I'm over time. Any other questions? Oh, I got some chats. Let me get to that. Libraries are a great resource. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you all very, very, very much. As always, I hope this was helpful to you. You're responsible to go over the last bit of your quiz. Keep practicing with it. And now, from now on, when you're reading about cheeses, turn each sentence into a question. How can they ask me about this? And that'll help you get your studying down pretty good, okay? Excellent. Thank you all very much. Have a great weekend coming up, and I'll see you soon. Bye.